Now, today's presentation is adapted from the previous one we had on alternative ways to outcome one, engineering design, alternative ways to approach engineering design for registration with ECSA. And thanks, Chris, I used your presentation and I changed it a bit so that the guys don't fall asleep when it's the same presentation. So fine, what is meant by designing for registration as a professional engineering technologist? That's a question that's usually asked. The answer could be different in various work environments. It's different for a consulting office, for a construction site, for a government or a municipal office, or for a managerial or project management business. And it's also different for the academic situation. The Engineering Council has proclaimed the identification of engineering work, where it is proclaimed now that every person working in engineering environment must be registered with ECSA, similar to the Health Professions Act, Council, where all health professions have to be registered. And within 3 years, everybody in engineering will have to be registered. So we're trying to assist you to make it possible to be able to register. So the ECSA application requires all 11 outcomes to be achieved for registration, be it registration as a professional technician, a professional technologist, or a professional engineer. Applicants who have not worked in a consultant's design office generally seem to have a problem with outcomes number 1 and 2, which states define, investigate, and analyze a solution to broadly defined engineering problems. And then outcome 2 that states design or develop a solution to broadly defined engineering problems. Note that outcome 2 does not only say design, it says design or develop a solution. So if you're in an ECSA interview and the interviewer say to you, but you haven't got design experience, you can refer him to this outcome 2 that states that you can also develop a solution to broadly defined engineering problems. It's not only design. So some people tend to think very narrowly about that outcome. Note that the key words in outcome number 1 is define, investigate, and analyze a solution. In other words, describe how you identify and define a problem. How do you investigate and analyze the problem? And then conceptualize a solution using certain engineering assumptions and engineering knowledge and experience. Now, this can be any project. It can be a structure, in other words, designing a structure like in civil engineering, or a component like in mechanical engineering, or designing a system, or it can be a design review. It can be designing a test or a research problem. It can be designing a maintenance project, or an engineering curriculum or an evaluation like an exam. In essence, you go through the same process in any one of these projects that you design. The same also applies when checking someone else's design. Please remember that. You don't only have to physically do your own design, but checking someone else's design, but also making sure that the calculations is correct. That is part of checking, and making sure that the person used conceptualized the correct solutions, and that they analyzed and defined the problem correctly. That's all part of checking someone else's design. So here's an extract from the Engineering Council's application form, which tells you exactly what outcome 1 is and what you have to find there, and how you've got to state how you performed or contributed in defining engineering problems, leading to an agreed definition of the problems to be solved, etc. You can find it all in the form. But the important part is the heading: define, investigate, and analyze broadly defined engineering problems. So in other words, you have to prove your ability to solve broadly defined engineering problems, to design and record their solutions, and by using engineering concepts, principles, and calculations. And when you do this, make sure that you record all these things that you saying, which concepts you used, what principles you used, and what calculations you used, so that you can use that answers, that what you've recorded in your ECSA application interview. Define means to conceptualize the problem encountered, which has the criteria of a broadly defined engineering activity. Investigate, discuss what information was collected to be able to make a decision for your solution. Outcome number 2 states that you must design or develop a solution, as I said previously, to broadly defined engineering problems. So design and or develop. Here you discuss your design or development of your solution that you conceptualized based on how you identified the problem, what information you collected, and what assumptions you made on the basis of outcome number 1. So in other words, make sure that you identify all these things and that you record it. Thirdly, the solution. Here you discuss what designs or solutions you use to solve the identified broadly defined engineering activity. Please, those designs or solutions are in plural. In other words, you don't only take the first idea that comes to mind. You look at all the various possibilities, and after you've identified the different solutions, state which was the best solution to be used and why did you opt for that solution? Why was it the best solution? You need to prove that you have mastered the engineering concepts and not merely learned a recipe by heart to pass the exam at university. And this is where it comes out. The problem is a lot of you students, they study to pass the exam. And that's usually the students that have to redo many subjects. And they don't understand the engineering concepts. And for them, it's much more difficult to make progress in practice and to register, because unless you understand and master the engineering concepts and not merely learn the recipe, as I said, you will have difficulty here. There is the extract from the ECSA application form where it says, design or develop a solution to broadly defined engineering problems, describing how you designed or developed solutions, etc. So let's look at what is understood with design experience for registration. We need to discuss briefly what is meant with the word design. The word design is defined according to the Pocket Oxford Dictionary as outline or sketch or plan or pattern for a future product. It is an outline or a sketch or a plan or a pattern for a future product. That is a design. This can apply to any problem or project. It can be a structure or component, as I said before, or a system, or a test or research problem, or even an exam that you design so that your questions asked for your students is fair and to test that the students understand the engineering concepts and not merely the recipe. In essential, it is the same for throughout for every process. So for the consulting office, that's usually the easy one. You receive a brief about the engineering problem to be solved. Your boss comes and he gives you a job. You have to design this or that. And you receive the brief, what it is you have to the problem to be solved or the design to be done. Then you collect all relevant present and historical information. In other words, you look at all the information that's relevant to the problem that you need to solve. Then you assume certain preconceived designs based on certain assumptions made, and you look at various other designs and check your assumptions. In other words, you don't just assume the first design or the first assumption. You choose the design that has certain attributes that fit certain criteria. In other words, is it financially the best? Will this design be maintainable? Will it be expensive to maintain? Will it be durable? Will you need a lot of maintenance? What will the lifespan be, etc.? So all those things you have to take into account. Now, it is a myth that if you work in a construction industry, in the construction industry and not in a design office, as we showed previously, that you cannot register at ECSA as a professional. As a site agent or a contracts manager, you have to design temporary and permanent works for your construction site. But obviously you have to record those designs and present them to your boss or whoever, if you're not a professionally registered person. Also, when you receive designs from consulting engineers, you check the designs, and if you see that they are not viable due to some factors that were not taken into account in the design office, do you just go ahead and build them regardless, or do you take action? Obviously, as a future professional, you take action and you look at these designs and find an alternative. You record all evidence exactly why the design received is not feasible to proceed with and what is wrong with it. You develop alternative designs based on the information that you collected and the situation on site, and also based on your engineering experience and your engineering education. From that, you choose the best design based on the various factors, like, as we said previously, for the consultant as well, as the same applies here: constructability, durability, financial, etc. You propose those design solutions backed by sound calculations to your superiors and the consultants in order to solve the problem. And then make sure that you record your designs and your reasoning for your ECSA application. And the same applies for the work in the consultant's office. Make sure that you record your designs. And the other thing is, when you have done a design, make sure that it's checked by a professional and signed off by a professional. That is very important. Even if you are a seasoned professional, make sure 10 years down the line, make sure that your design are checked. Anybody can make a mistake. So that is a very hard and fast rule you've always got to live by. Fine. Now, when working in a government office, that is, a lot of people say that, yeah, we're working in a government office and we cannot register because we don't do design. When you're working in a government environment, you are actually in a position of authority, since you evaluate and authorize designs and projects. So what is that else than actually designing? Sanjeev, yeah, please put off your camera. In a government office, you receive a design from a consultant that has to be reviewed and approved. You don't just tick the boxes and put a stamp on it and sign it as approved. You evaluate and check the design based on the criteria and guidelines of the department and also on your experience, and you identify shortcomings. That's all part of the designing process. Then you propose alternatives that the consultants could have used using the departmental criteria and your engineering knowledge and judgment. Make sure that you also record all the designs and reasoning for your ECSA application. Obviously, after the proposing of the alternatives, you discuss it, and the decision is then made on how the project will go forward before you approve it. But make sure that you record all your stuff for your ECSA application. Now, in a managerial position, be it a private or in a governmental environment, you also do designing as you are in a position of authority, because you not only design, but you are looking at processes and problem solving. Here you also receive designs from your subordinates to be checked for review and approval. You check designs according to the departmental criteria with your engineering experience and judgment, and make sure that designs are not just checked against a checklist without any thinking and engineering experience and judgment. Then you propose alternatives that your subordinates could have used using the departmental criteria and your experience, judgment, and engineering knowledge. From that, you choose the best, as a group, you choose the best design based on various factors. Again, the same factors that apply everywhere else: the financial, constructability, durability, practicality, etc. As an engineering manager, you also design standards, processes, projects, tests, specifications, and other things using your engineering concepts, principles, and calculations. Again, make sure that you record these and the reasoning that you used to do them for your ECSA application. So I hope it's clear that even in a managerial position, by being a good manager, you are also doing design work. As a conclusion, design is how you identify and define a problem, how you investigate and analyze it, and then conceptualize a solution using sound engineering knowledge, experience, and assumptions. This can be any project. It can be a structure, a component, a system, a design review, a maintenance project, a test, educational curriculum, or educational evaluation. In essence, you go through the same reasoning process. Understand how you define it in engineering terms. Record your designs and reasoning for your ECSA application. And then you have to be able to explain to the ECSA assessor in clear engineering terminology how you went about, especially if it's not only a calculated design of a building or a component that is easy to prove that it's designed. This presentation was based on the ECSA application form for outcomes number 1 and 2, form B 2.3. And I would like to again to fully acknowledge Chris Maynard, IPIT past president, who developed the original text for this presentation. Thank you very much, and we will now take any questions. Please put up your hand or just fire away if you have a question. Unmute yourself And I'm sure there must be questions, guys.
Okay, I'm just going to ask some. Afternoon, come in. You can come in.
Good afternoon, Johan and the colleagues. For me, it's not a question other than it's a comment. From my side, I think what I will say, I'm Tabisi Kambi. I'm from Eastern Cape. I'm working with Provincial Treasury. I'm currently registered as a professional technician, and I'm in a process to register as a technologist. But I think from what has been presented by you, Johan, I might be falling on the category of the managerial level, as much as there are projects that I have managed, but at a funder point of view, while I worked with municipalities where we funded those projects, and I had played a role in terms of also looking at some designs that have been approved by municipality or municipalities, and then I provided some technical advice on such designs based on the knowledge and the prescript. So I think that will assist me from what has been presented in terms of putting up my application. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thanks. I think you're on the right track. As I said, you must just make sure that you record your reasoning properly so that you can back it up. Because in an ECSA interview situation, we find that some people they are taught what to write and told what to write, and they write stuff that's not their own experience, and it's very quickly you are caught out, and because you're asked to elaborate on the stuff that you've written, and if you didn't do it yourself, then obviously you won't be able to elaborate on the detail of any job or design that you've done. And there's nothing as bad as being caught out by the ECSA interviewers that you, and then you say, oh, I forgot, I've done that long ago. Then obviously interviewer know that he knows that you've been not telling the truth, putting it mildly.
Jan, can I just come in there?
Please.
Yeah. Okay. Just remember the interviewers, we as interviewers, and that we do not work for ECSA. We actually are in the industry. So we work in the various industries. If we're doing civil, we have got a broad-based knowledge. A lot of us do have with many years of experience. So that's what Johan says there. Put down what you know. Don't get somebody else to write your engineering report. We're going to ask you. ECSA does not pay us to do this. They give us a small amount of stipends for a bit of our time, but we spend a lot of time going through these documents, going through your application, and making sure that you are there. And when you go to the professional review, you must know what you're talking about. Each person has got his own questions. There's no set questions. We base our questions on what you present to us. So if anybody says to you, no, but this is what I was taught, you are not taught how to fill in your engineering report. You follow it to your experience that you've put in. Your friend may be next door in another company, he's also working in the same field. He'll be applying, but he won't have the same experience that you picked up. Like Johannes got different experience in civil engineering compared to me. If we fill in our forms and our applications, it will never be the same. So please remember, one peg does not fit in all the holes. You are individual. It's your experience, not the company's experience, neither your friend's experience. It's your experience that you're working on. Just remember that when you're filling in your application form. Okay. It looks like everybody's good. Yes, coming.
No, I was saying thanks very much.
Okay. Ron, praat maar. You can talk, Ron.
Yes, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Jan. Yeah, this is it touches also on outcome 1, 2, and 3. As you know, I'm a lecturer. I'm luckily registered, so I don't have the problem. How do you see the future for lecturers who are not registered? Because I see in the identification of engineering works, section 17, they also see lecturers as persons performing identified work. So does that mean that in the near future, all lecturers at the university or any other institution where engineering work is delivered as a teaching subject, must they be registered, yes or no?
Definitely, yes. That is what ECSA wants. And in other words, they gave 3 years from, I think it's April this year. So within 3 years, everybody will have to be registered. That includes lecturers that are lecturing engineering at university or a university of technology.
So what happens if they're not registered in 3 years' time?
Well, that's a good question. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
It's you
what
will
I
be in
understood,
trouble by the law, you know, so they'll probably be able to take you to court. But looking at the practicality of the situation, I think they will give us another year or so to register. And but in the end, everybody will have to be registered. And if you're not registered, as they do with the health professions, if you're not registered as a doctor and you are practicing as a doctor, you get taken to court and you can get a very heavy fine, or you even can get a prison sentence. So that's where we are.
can I just come in there? As I understand it, if you say you are practicing as a technologist, engineer, technician, but you're not registered, you cannot say that you are as a technician, technologist, or engineer. You actually work under somebody that is registered, but your designs in that, you don't take responsibility. The person above you is registered, who's basically looking at your designs, they take responsibility. And it will end up that a lot of guys that are registered would not want to have those people doing the design. So you will be limited in what you can do. And I see it with the lecturers too. They will still give lecturing, but they will become like assistants with no authority at all, where they have no authority in the sense of their lectures, but they will basically end up having a lower position, and the people that are registered will go forward. That's the way I see it is happening. And I don't know if you agree with me, Johan.
Yeah, I don't know what the university will do. We'll have to see what happens in time to come. Johan van Skalkwyk, I see you've got a hand up.
Just may I quickly interject? I was just now reading the definition there in section 17. Any person who oversees the planning, design, and delivery of education and training programs accredited by ECSA and assessment of students at the engineering exit level at a higher. So it looks to me as if there's a loophole that at least the senior lecturers on the last year must be registered. So it looks maybe that then all the people who are not registered, you can move to the first and the second year or whatever is in front of your exit level. don't you want to look at that a little bit? Because like I said, for us, it becomes seriously important. That's first. Secondly, I take it then lecturers must in any case also go through the normal registration process.
Yeah, it won't be any different. They would have to fill in the same forms and pay the same money and go through the same process to be registered.
So hopefully they then have some industrial experience that they can pass that.
No, I don't. The way I see it, and I've always, and I've spoken to Jan about this too. And basically what it means is the person who is designing an exam for any subject on the level of a BTech or whatever subject, they're actually designing, they're going through, you don't, as you yourself as a lecturer, you don't just take some questions out of a textbook. You actually design your exam paper. You think about the solutions, you look at different solutions that can be for your memorandum, and that it's not just one solution many times in engineering. So you are actually designing while you're a lecturer, although you might have not worked in industry. You know the processes, you've studied it, you've done your exam papers, you've designed them. That's the way I see it. There.
No, I fully agree.
And
I
that's the
haven't
way
had,
I see it, and it has to be done. And the story that a lot of lecturers say, no, but I need a physical experience out of lecturing. Not necessary, because you are actually using your knowledge that you've picked up, your academic knowledge, you're applying it and you're transferring it over to students through exams. You're checking if they got the engineering experience that they need, the understanding, as Johan said, the engineering understanding. And even if you're doing a research that you're doing, a research on a certain item that you've done for your MTech or whatever, your PhD or whatever, that is also falls under that for engineering. And that you can utilize also for your application.
Are there any assessors for ECSA here who already have interviewed or assessed lecturers from a university or a university of technology?
Yes, I have. I've actually done 2.
What was your experience?
Well, the experience was fine. It's just that the one was a professor and he thought me and my 2 colleagues, we were students, and I had to bring him down to let him understand we are peers, see. And he actually changed his attitude and he explained what he was doing. Although he didn't have physical experience in the industry, but he understood the concept, and he was explaining the concepts of what he was doing in his students and what he was transferring. He actually became registered as a professional technologist, so it's not impossible.
It's good to hear. Thank you.
Okay, I see Johan van Skalkwyk.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Just a quick question. I see lots of the candidates find it difficult, or they want to know, when you say engineering language or terminology, what exactly do you mean by that? What is a typical kind of lingua that you need to use, if I can put it that way, just to help the guys understand when you say engineering talk?
Okay, I'm gonna give it to Ron that he can explain there, because he knows also, he does it also. We've discussed this a few times, but I think Ron must come in and explain, because I can explain it too, but I would like somebody else to explain further.
Okay,
for a change.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah. Yeah, we see it a lot. A lot of the applicants, they come and they say, yes, the road must be hardened so that the car doesn't sink into the road. That's not engineering lingua. We want to hear, yes, a selected layer must be compacted to 95% MDD with about 5% OMC. You see what I mean? There's a total difference. Chris, we've been, I think last month there was one applicant who had no clue, totally no clue. He was building roads and he always said, no, it's compacted, that it's hard enough. That's not engineering lingua. You must talk with the assessors on their own level. Because if you're going to tell me the road must be compacted, that is hard enough, I'm going to think, okay, this applicant was never on the road. So you must talk with the assessment panel, if be it interviewers or even in your engineering report, you must talk on their own level. That the assessors also can see, okay, this person has been involved with designing on what is then called the broadly defined level. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks.
Okay,
Perfect.
can I also come in there too? I find also a lot of the applicants that do not know what they're talking about, they start throwing in engineering terms. And when you ask them about the engineering term to define it, then they really don't know what they're talking. So please, the people who are doing the application must make sure that they're talking engineering terms of what is being done, not layman terms, as what we say, or generalize. And there's one thing I've also had a lot lately, is the people, they say, we do this and this and etc. Now, what does that mean? I can't guess. And you ask them to explain, then they say, no, but you understand, etc. This is how it works. We're not there to think their minds. You explain exactly what is to be done there. Okay, Ron.
May I quickly interject also for all the people who are here who want to register and go through the whole process. I think the absolute biggest problem that we as assessors get is I don't know if you know all the stages of your application, but the first application is 4 assessors sit in their office or at home and look at your engineering report together with the annexures and your development and training, all that stuff. And then when you look again, you are invited for an EA interview. Now, when you are invited for an EA interview, it means there's information missing. And I think more than 50% of the information is missing is your calculations or anything that provides evidence of your competence. So if you say, I calculated the flow in this area or the hardness of that road or whatever, you must provide us, the assessors, you must provide them proof that you did that. The best is obviously, if it's lots of calculations, don't give the assessors a spreadsheet that automatically calculates everything. In the annexures, for example, your engineering report is limited to a certain amount of pages, but your annexures are not. So if you still have those calculations that you did with hand, attach them. If the assessors see that, or if you just say in your engineering report, I used Manning's equations, which is, or I did this, or use the rational method, which consists of the following steps, only 1 sentence, then most probably you can avoid the EA report, but if you, or the EA stage, the interview stage. But I think most of the time, and Chris, back me up here if it's not possible, if it's not true or yes, but most of the stage, I think half of the interviews that ECSA does, even maybe more, is to get more information out of the student or the applicant that they did not provide in either the engineering report or the annexures. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Ron there. And also I'm finding the new tendency, and I think Johan has also picked it. I mean, Ron has also picked it up. If they say you do 200 words, we're getting now guys that are actually writing 3,000 to 2,000 words per section of the outcomes. And this is actually very time consuming for us. I don't know if you picked that also up, Ron.
Guys, there was a hand up.
Definitely.
Because
yes.
before you guys...
Kambi.
Yeah. Okay. Who is the person coming?
Yeah, it's Kambi. I wanted to come closer to what you have just said, Ron. When I started populating my my application form, exactly on the issue of a number of words, I realized that I wish to say much, on a particular outcome, but the issue of number of words that I must write, it's also limiting me, whereby I thought I could have said much on what I wanted to convey. Is it allowed that you can perhaps go over a bit on that limitation of the number of words in an outcome?
Yes, you can go over a little bit, but not 2,000 and 3,000 words. Basically, what we also want to see is, can you condense and give us the answers straight out there? And also, I see a lot of people, they say maybe 2-3 lines on an outcome, and they say annexure A, then they write, see my annexure A there. Yeah. And then we must go and look at the annexure A. We do look at it, but then we must try and determine, is it your work or not your work? If you write there, you can put point bullets down and say, this is what I did short, and this is the annexure, it's annexure A. Also, an outcome 1 and 2. Preferably when you choose a project, rather keep it to 1 and 2, outcome 1, 2, and 3 together, and 9 and 10. It's easier for us, and it would also be easier for you to follow. Don't take, say you've got period 6 and 7 and 8. Then you write period 6, 7, and 8 for 1, 2, and 3, and then 9 and 10. Then you start tending to generalize. That's why you will be called in for a interview for further information, because we have to try and determine what it is. You rather take one project, work it through. It's easier for us, and it's also easier for yourself to remember, because I've picked this up. When you've got a lot of projects, you tend to generalize, and once you start asking questions about projects there of one of those outcomes, the applicant has a problem. I don't know if Ron also has picked that up.
Yeah, that definitely. The other problem that is also there, or for the applicant, remember, if your engineering report is not written according to the rules of ECSA, it refers directly to outcome number 5, which is looking for evidence on your report writing, for example. So then you fail that instantly. That's one. Secondly, when I say rather put it in the annexures and not in the engineering report, so that your engineering report stays as short as possible, I'm talking about if you use, for example, certain method, 2 pages, which are nicely handwritten, 10 steps for that certain method, that's okay. But there are applicants who said, I set up a tender document and they put all 200 pages in the annexures. That's a no-no. All your stuff that you want as proof to attach to the annexures, don't make it longer than about 2 pages per item. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Tombi?
Okay, no, I think that is well said and noted. Just to check something again, as I've said that I registered as a PR technician, I think in 2011. Now that I'm in the process of putting the PR tech, there are some of works that I've done as which I think was at a level of technology at the time. Is it fine if I include that part of my my application as a technologist? As much as, yeah.
All right, I'm going to answer that quickly. Basically, if you registered as a technician and then you're registering as a technologist, preferably we don't even look at your technician's application. We don't see it at all. You are applying now as if you haven't got any registration, although you do state it. But I would like to see from your diploma area up to the point where that we can see the growth. Because sometimes you write, some people write there, and then we see, but when they had their diploma already, they were already working as a technologist before they even got their BTech. So preferably, I would like to see that whole spectrum, except if you are doing the alternative route, there you only do your last 10 years. Okay.
I think Sindiswa or somebody had a question earlier.
Yes, I
Please,
must come in.
whoever it was, I'm not sure. Please feel free to ask your question. We would like to hear what your problem was. There's Keaton. You can go ahead.
Hi, Johan. Thank you. I just had a question. Okay, I work in more of the maintenance and operations environment at Transnet Freight Rail. And I'm trying to register PRN in terms of addressing outcomes 1 to 3. Because in terms of design, there is, creating or developing solutions to problems, but not so much design experience.
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to give this
appreciate-
to you on. You can do that quickly.
I appreciate where you are because especially nowadays, there is not very all that much design to be done. But are you in a position where you maybe can design maintenance efforts like the ballast cleaning to decide where to do ballast cleaning or tamping or any of those, or are you not in a position where you can do those?
Okay, no, I am in the position currently working in the per-weight department as a maintenance manager. So basically, that's my duties are to create, the maintenance strategies, whether it be for ballast, sleepers, sleeper replacements, ballast maintenance, maintenance on our per-way infrastructure as well. So yes, to answer your question, that yes.
So in other words, you need to prove that you're using your engineering, your understanding of the concept. Why do you need to tamp? Why do you need to clean ballast? So that you can explain that to the ECSA interviewers, because they don't necessarily, you won't necessarily be interviewed by a person with per-way knowledge like you and me. I mean, I've worked in per-way design research office for 30 years. But you need to be able to show that you are using engineering principles and the stuff that you learned with the Takis courses. I presume you've attended those courses
Yes.
at University of Pretoria, so that you can show that you're using the knowledge that you've gained there to be able to decide where to do your maintenance, how to do it, where maintenance is necessary and where not. There's a lot of detail there that most of the other guys that's listening today won't understand because they don't have the detailed railway knowledge. But be that as it may, and also if you can do some geometric design of some railway stuff, and just maybe with one of the consultants, just to get the experience of doing geometric design, outlay of station yard, so you could explain how it's done, what the principles are, what the standards are, why do you have certain limits in gradient and collection angles of points and crossings and that kind of thing. Why do you use certain gradients for full trains or for passenger or for goods trains, what your limiting radius for curves are, which obviously is a lot sharper for road design than for rail design, etc. So those are the things that you need to be able to talk about and show your knowledge and that you have done those designs. Does that answer the question?
Yes, Johan, I just want to confirm something. So basically, from my understanding of what you've answered, if I can show in my reports my understanding and how, let's say, from a problem area, I've developed a solution or maintenance strategy to resolve a problem for my infrastructure that's under my control, that will give sort of evidence to outcomes 1, 2, and 3.
That should be yes.
Okay.
It should be sufficient.
No, thanks. No, then I'm answered.
Sindiswa,
Thanks, Johan, and greetings, everyone. Man, I just want to check if you can, on outcome 1, 2, and 3 on your engineering report, can you base your report on a project that has not been implemented yet, that is still on that has been designed or has a detailed design and but not yet implemented?
Chris?
Thanks.
Okay, you can do that, but there's one requirement. Did you do the design? And if it's a big project, what was your responsibility and what section of the design did you do? So that's what you have to look at there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So just make sure that you do your design or your section, because you're going to be asked about that. And please do not steal your friend's design to do your application. It can happen. I've had that, so don't worry. Okay. And is there anything further for Sindiswa? Any further questions?
Also, Chris, I just want to check when Johan mentioned that you need to record when you do your reporting, you need to make a record of your design and the criteria. Does that now mean that I need to include my own calculations besides the calculations maybe of the engineer, because I work for a municipality? Does that now refer to me my own calculations to verify or to review the design of the engineer?
You have to put your own calculations. You can't use somebody else's calculations, because when we're going to ask you about those calculations, you might not be able to answer. So when you're reviewing, for instance, like that in a municipality, you're reviewing a design of the consultants or another engineer, and you see if it is correct or not. And you find it's not correct, but you show why it's not correct. And what options did you have used there, and what calculations did you use to prove that it was not correct, and how did you solve that, and what did you suggest? That's where it comes in, your engineering judgment and that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Chris. But now you're saying that if you prove that you've noticed something that is not correct, and then you provide alternatives of resolving that that problem. But then what if you prove that the calculations are indeed correct, and you
That's
actually
also
support the design of the engineer?
Yes, you can do that, but you say also what alternatives you looked at, and you said, no, this won't work. It would work, but it would be more expensive. And then why do you agree with a consultant on that design? So you have to prove there why you agree with them, and what other alternatives did you look at. So you don't just look there, and make sure that you're not just working off a checklist. Make sure that you're using engineering judgment also. Okay.
All right, I'm covered, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, it's a pleasure. Okay, you can put your hand down. Then
Yes, can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, afternoon, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I actually joined late because of connection problems, and I missed a lot of the conversation. But my question is basically that I'm just a new candidate technologist, and I need a lot of guidance. I don't even have a mentor at the moment. But what I want to know is I've done a lot of designs. I'm working in a PMR refinery. PGM refinery as a process engineer. So I've done a lot of designs, optimizations, and things like that, and then the work. But my question is, all that work that I've done from 2015, for instance, in my reports and whatever evaluation, will all that be considered, or you working only on the work that I'm doing from the registration date? Yeah.
Oh, no. Because you've not registered before. You're now registering as a professional technologist. You want to register, am I correct?
Yes, I've registered. Yeah, I'm a candidate now.
Yes, okay. You're registered as a candidate. But
yes.
What did you do after you had your diploma? You assisted, am I correct? You looked there and then you went to level B, level C, D, and then now you're on level E. I would like to see, and this is what all the assessors and reviewers and interviewers, they would like to see your development from when you started working after your diploma up to the point of level E where you are now, for instance.
Okay.
So you don't just say, yes, now I become a candidate, so I'll only start. Remember, when you're a candidate, you are basically still the same as if you're getting training and you're working under somebody who's guiding you and supervising. So whatever you learn, remember, you will not maybe in your lifetime, sometimes it happens with us, we don't have full-time mentors. We work, we change our positions in the companies, but we work under somebody and we use them as mentors. And we might have 10, 20 mentors in our life experience of people that are superior, who are our superiors in that, and we learn from them. Then we move on. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So you have to write it in your training experience report. Okay. But under your engineering report, you choose only one project to do outcome 1, 2, and 3. Okay.
Okay. All right.
You understand now? So
yes.
You don't go and put all your 30 projects under outcome 1, 2, and 3. You only choose one that you feel comfortable with, that you can explain, and you see you've got all the outcomes, you can discuss them on your outcomes there. Okay. So does that answer your question for you?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
So is it possible for the recording to be sent maybe through email?
There is a website. It is cpdprofessionals.co.za. I've put it on the chat group, so you can go and get there all the recordings that have been done up to date on all the outcomes. We've done it now since last year, and it's a free service from iPad. You have to register there. You can get those free, and they are also for CPD that you pay a small fee, that you can also get CPD points. For you, it will be an IDP points, which will also help in your application.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And that's also, thanks. It's also for all the others too who are listening. They can also register there on that website. It's written on the chat group. I did write it there.
Just for information, this is the 21st representation that we've done. We've covered all the ECSA outcomes, and we've covered items like mistakes made in filling in the forms, and the educational requirements, the identification of engineering work. We've covered everything really. And if there's anything that you want discussed that we haven't discussed before, please send us a request and we will discuss it. I've put the phone number for being added to the IPAD registration advice group or the job groups, where we do job advertisements for jobs that we get from other sites. We put it all on there for free as a service. The number is on the chat group. It's 073-336-2471. And if you're not added immediately, please send another WhatsApp. I'm a bit behind with some of them. I see the other day I've slipped on a few, but or go to iped.org.za for more information to join. And yeah, any case, let's see if there's more questions that we can answer. As a matter of interest, if you are a registered professional technologist and you are a member of IPET, you get a discount from ECSA, and ECSA's discount for technologists, well, for everybody is the same, but IPET membership fee is less than the discount. So you actually score by becoming an IPET member. And so please keep it in mind and tell your friends about it, because we look after the interests of professional technologists, and we try and see where technologists are being discriminated against, and we take up the fight for them. So that is the aim of IPET, to serve the engineering technologist and the engineering profession. Any more
Johan?
questions? And CBC, you've got another question?
Johan?
Yeah.
Just may I also add, because IPET is also a registered voluntary association with ECSA, you get the CPD point just by being a member every year.
Exactly. CBC?
Yeah, thanks, Johan. I think Rowan has assisted me. I wanted to check on that. But how many points a year that you get if you're a member? And 1 point, okay. I heard someone was saying, so for this attendance year, were you saying we're getting a point or something for the CPD?
We haven't registered this as CPD because it's basically aimed at people that are not registered yet.
Okay.
So it's just a free service that we provide.
No, noted then.
But Johan, they can still claim for it under category 3B, or their IPD forms. You can put it onto your IPD, that initial professional development form. These kind of activities can feature there as well, so you will benefit from that.
Yeah, you can add it. It doesn't have to be a registered CPD carrying thing that if any CPD facility or course that you do can count for IPD.
Can I just come in? Can I just come in there? For voluntary associations, there you have to actually state it in your application form right in front there that you belong to. And for instance, you are a member of, or a candidate member, or associate member of, or graduate member. For us in IPET, you put it there in your application form right in front. It's on the second page, if I remember right. Your IPD, there you put in the courses that you attended, so CPD accredited and non-accredited. So you can put this also under the IPD that you've attended.
Rishkan, you've got a question? Unmute yourself, Rishkan, and carry on.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for the informative session here. This is my first time on this platform, and I do find it really helpful. Just a brief breakdown. I've been in the industry for about 16 years, and I haven't done my PR, so I'm getting there. One of the questions that at the tail end that I caught from Chris was that we could put in all our TER reports from the time we've attained our national diploma. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. But remember,
Okay,
just look at your, just make sure of your TER. If you're doing something repetitive in one company, you put it in that time frame. Say you did 5 years, something the same, it's the same repetitive. But if you change your position or your duties have changed in that, then you put in a new TER. look at that definition there, please.
Okay, because what I've done was initially I did quite a few years of in between site and design, a lot of water reticulation design and stuff, and then I chose to go permanently onto site as an ER, AER, etc. So I'd like to get a bit of that design component into my report, because there's still fundamental principles that you still use on site till this day. So it helps me, for the lack of a better word, the lack of design in the most recent years, so to speak. So
yeah, okay. What I'm saying is you've actually answered the question yourself by saying that you went to become a RE on site, a or an assistant RE. So you do design on site yourself. If you see a design is not correct, you do your design with your experience of designing experience. That is, you can use that also in your outcome 1, 2, and 3, the most recent one, if you want to use that.
okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can I ask the last question?
You can ask as many as you want.
Okay, I just went on the website now, just to check the issue of the registration. I see that there is an affiliate, which is a person who has a qualification that might be different from what is accepted. And there's a company, and there's a graduate, and there's a member. Now the member is saying a person who's registered as a technologist. What if you are registered as a technician? You are registering under which category?
Okay, have you got your BTEC? Am I
Yes,
correct?
I've got my- yes.
Okay, if you read there, for graduate, you have to be a BTEC, okay?
Yes.
And now if you're a professional, you have to be registered as a professional as a technologist at ECSA. Am I correct?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So you will, because you got your BTEC, but you're not registered as a professional technologist yet at ECSA,
Yes.
you will fall under the category of graduate.
Okay.
There is a other platform for professional technicians. That's why we have not included it in ours. There is another one there. But just remember, IPET is not just like some voluntary voluntary associations. They are specifically for electrical, specifically for mechanical, specifically for civil. We are specifically for all engineering technologists, and I think we're the only one in the country. I think we're also the only one in the worldwide too. We look after the technologists, engineering technologists. Okay, and I think Johan knows about the technician one. Which one is that, Johan?
If you want to register engineering technology.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Kombi?
Yes. It answered me, Chris.
Okay, so when you're registering next week?
I'm actually on the website now.
You're on the website. You've been thinking of registering. So just remember, also look there on. It's actually not CPD professional. It's professionalcpd.co.za. We got the talks there also on the do's and don'ts, and also how to complete your form, and what is to look for and how to go about it. So use that as a guideline. If you see those talks, none of our talks were specifically on any field like it's mechanical or electrical. We are broadly discussing on all engineering technologists, all the fields. Okay.
Okay.
Johan, can I ask you to put your website there on the chat for everybody to be able to access it, please?
Yeah, I'll put it up now.
Okay, other Johan? May I add to that definition from our past president, Chris Maynard, and also potential technologists? That's where the graduate category comes in.
And students.
And students, yes. So even if you're a technician and you want to improve and go to Technologists, then this is the forum for you. Thank you.
Let's see. Kambi, is it old hand or new hand?
It's an old hand, it's a legal hand, Miniam.
Guys, you're welcome to ask more questions. Don't think that any question is not a good question. If you're new to it and you haven't even looked at the registration stuff, you're welcome to ask questions. We'll try and answer to the best of our ability. Both Ron and Chris has a very recent experience of being assessors and interviewers at ECSA. Myself, I've been there for many years, but they told me I'm too old and too ugly, I must go. So,
sorry, may I just say thank you for all your troubles. I have to leave now.
okay,
But I'll see you again.
next time.
Yes,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay, keep well, Ron. Cheers. I see there's
You too.
okay. I see there's two hands up, Johan. Who was the first one?
I don't know. Zukiswa?
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. It's my first time to be in this platform, and thank you very much. I might be asking maybe some questions that have been asked before. Please bear with me. I just want to know further. I want to to register as a candidate. First of all, to ECSA. So I just downloaded the form on the website, but I don't know what else do I need to have. As I've been listening to you, I need to answer all my questions to my best level of knowledge of what I am doing after I just get my diploma. So my question or my plea is to just get to know further information that I need to organize, so as to speak. Thank you.
No, that's a very good question, Zukisa, because a lot of people don't understand. All you need for registering as a candidate is you need to fill in that form that you've downloaded, which basically only asks you for your personal information, your name and your ID at where you live and your address and things like that. And then you have to supply a copy of your diploma or your degree certificate, obviously a certified copy of your certificate. There's a problem in that some graduates have money outstanding with some universities. Sometimes, some of us don't have the money to pay their fees, and you owe the university 500 or 1,000 or 5 or 10,000 rand, and then they don't give you your certificate. Now, unfortunately, ECSA don't register you as a candidate unless you have the certificate. So it's one of those unfortunate things that ECSA, that is their rule. We cannot change it, but we can probably take it up with them again, but I doubt if we will be able to change their mind. But the point is, you need to fill in your personal information. You don't need to fill in any job-related information. In other words, to show whatever work you've done. That is not necessary. All they need is your personal information and a copy of your certificate for candidate applications.
Thank you very much, Johan. Yes, much appreciated. It's clear. Thank you.
And obviously they want you to pay. That is the other unfortunate part to it.
Yes, I've seen that on that form. It clearly stated the amount we need to pay as a candidate. I was actually very much surprised because it looks steep, but yeah, I've seen the amount needs to be paid for the registration. So as you said, I don't need to, at this stage, I don't need to worry about the reports I need to compile. It's only to be registered as a candidate for now. And then further on, it's when I need to collect all the necessary reports.
Yeah, you can only register as a professional after a minimum of 3 years after you received your diploma or your degree. That is a minimum, and the same minimum goes for engineers, technicians, and technologists. It doesn't say that you have to register after 3 years and that you will be registered after 3 years. It depends on the experience report that you've written. But you cannot apply for registration only 2 years after your degree or your diploma graduation. So you need to have 3 years after your final exam, a minimum of that.
Yes, and I can just add there, just one question answer there. Please make sure that you've got 1 year at level E when you're doing your application. That's a minimum. Okay.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
Okay.
Can I come in?
Yes.
Stay
Yes.
on. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I've got a number of questions. The first one is if now I need a mentor, so a registered mentor, should it be in my field, as in like I've done chemical engineering, so should it be a chemical engineer or it can be either any other discipline? Yeah, that's the first question. So yeah, I'm not sure if you can help me with that one before I proceed to others, or should I just say all the questions?
We'll answer that one quickly. If you're doing civil, you must make sure that you're working with a civil engineer, or if you're doing chemical, make sure that you're working with a chemical engineer that is your mentor in the field of chemical that you are doing. Okay, because a civil engineer will not know what is to be done in chemical unless he's got a good chemical background, which I doubt. It's the same with electrical. You won't go, I want to ask you something. If you're going to have your appendix pulled out, when they have an operation on you, on your body, will you go to a dentist to do the operation, to take your appendix? Let's just think of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, your second question.
Yeah,
All
but there is just that the recognition by ECSA is there. Like, I just wanted to understand the recognition part, whether I have a different, let's say he has a background, as we've just said, he has a background of chemical engineering, but for some reason is registered in another field. So is it like recognized that, or it should be chemical engineer? I understand for the caution that I need a chemical engineer, but in terms of being recognized.
Okay, remember it's the person that you want to use as your mentor. You must show he's competent in that field. You understand where I'm coming from?
In that field, okay.
Yes, he can be, for instance, Johan has been trained in a different field, but he went into a different area. And we're getting guys that have had their BTech, for instance, in water engineering, but they're doing roads designs, and they've been doing it for years, and they understand at the level of a broadly defined engineering activity. So what I was saying is make sure that you've got the person that is going to mentor you is competent in that field of what you want to be used there. If you look at ECSA's website, it doesn't say a professional engineer is a chemical engineer. It says a professional engineer, PR Eng. Professional technologist, it says PR Tech Eng. It doesn't say PR Tech Eng Civil.
Yeah.
Because if you look at ECSA's code of conduct, it says you have to ensure you have the honesty, integrity, and competent in the field that you are practicing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So does that answer your question on that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And now the other one is the ECSA recognition, like internationally, because there is one lady that I wanted to be a mentor, is a professional engineer, but she moved to UK and then is saying it's not, ECSA is not recognized there. Is that so?
Okay. Is she registered at ECSA?
Yes, she is registered. She is a PR and
she's registered and she is active, not inactive. They haven't cancelled her registration.
Yes, they haven't cancelled the registration. He's just saying it's not recognized.
Who said that?
The lady, she's working that side now in UK. She got post that side, so she's saying it's not recognized that side.
It depends on what she's recognized in and what accord that we fall under there and what field she's doing there. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
You know, if you go and look at, we've got different accords. We've got a Washington Accord, we've got a Dublin Accord, and the Sydney Accord for the different recognitions. Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because if you go and work in, say, you're a doctor in South Africa and you go to, for instance, to the UK, you have to comply with their requirements to become recognized by them there as a doctor. Although you recognize you understand, if you go to the United States of America, you might be recognized here, but where you go and practice, you have to be recognized there also. You have to, they've also got standards we have to comply. Those people come here to South Africa, they have to comply with certain standards too, as ECSA requires them.
Okay.
They have to also register. It's because you understand your degree or your diploma or your BTEC is recognized internationally with a lot of countries too. Okay. All right.
Okay. So now in terms of the last question for now is in terms of now the CPD points.
Yes.
Yeah. In terms of those, I hear that you said from diploma in terms of all the designs and all the work that I've done, I can include it. But in terms of the courses that I attended before, it's still the same thing that applies in terms of the CPD point for now that I'm currently.
All right. Remember, when you're doing your application, it's IDP. All right. It's not CPD. So any courses that you've done that is not even accredited for CPD, you can write it down there. We want to see, are you actually going, that's outcome 11. What is your philosophy in getting, excuse me, you know, to say that you're doing new technologies? How do you keep abreast? Because if you're doing anything in any field, things do change. We are changing. We're in the electronic world. We're getting new techniques. Although the principle is the same, but somebody might come up with a new principle that makes the work easier for us and gets us to think more easier to get the work done faster. So that's why we're doing CPD, because if you got 20 years ago or 30 years ago, your principle is the same, but there might be new standards that come out. We have to keep abreast with the new technologies that are coming out. If you look at it, concreting, floors and that, the people are designing it to be more economical than what it was 30, 40 years ago. We're using computers. Computers are just greater calculators. They make our work easier. We can use more options like, what if I change this? What will it do? Will it still fall in that design? That's where the CPD comes in. That's where the new technologies. You read it in the journals, you read it on the internet on different techniques that have been used on engineering websites and that. So that you use. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, it's a pleasure. You on? Who's the next one?
Uh,
Sindiswa.
yeah, I think it's Sindiswa.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thanks, Johan and Chris. I also just want to check for your engineering reports, outcome 1, 2, and 3. Can you use a project that has not been reviewed by a professional engineer or verified by a professional engineer? Say, for example, in my working environment, I identify a challenge of intermittent water supply, and then I look into the range of factors that could be contributing to that, from the source to the treatment works to the whole infrastructure capability to cater for the demand, the pump the pumping of the operations of the pump stations and your reservoirs, the storage, if it's sufficient. You go through that whole process, and of course you calculate your demands to see if the infrastructure is capable to cater for that demand, and then you go through your calculations, and then you have your recommendation. And say you identify that there is insufficient storage, hence the communities are experiencing intermittent water supply, because the water supply schemes have been designed to operate on a continuous basis. But the design has not been assessed or reviewed by a professional engineer. Can you use that for your submission?
Okay, as your supervisor, who's going to sign off your report? Your engineering report. I say, who's going to sign your engineering report?
My supervisor.
So your supervisor looks at your design and that. Okay.
Who is also not registered.
All right, but he's your supervisor. So remember, when you're looking at the referees, if your supervisor is not registered, you get 3 other referees that are registered. If you're doing an application for technologists, so it'll be a technologist and a professional engineer. Okay. But there might not be, they can be your colleagues. It can be also colleagues not in the same company that you've worked with. Not necessarily, they could be mechanical engineers, mechanical technologists, and that you've worked with. Even your chemical engineer, chemical technologist you worked with, to show that you actually there. What they're doing is to see in a referee is to look at your engineering ability, not to do a character assassination. It's an engineering ability that we want to look to see if you're working at the level of what you're saying you're working at with the different colleagues. Okay.
All right. So the answer is yes.
You can use it, but make sure that you got your referees right also. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Keaton?
We'll see.
Okay, just a quick one. With regard to the panel at the EA and professional interview, would they be necessarily, like if I'm a civil engineer, would all the panel members be from the civil engineering background? And then if you consider like a specialist field, like I'm in the railway engineering environment, would we have people with that knowledge, or would it be a mixture or combination of professionals?
Okay, I'll come in there, Keaton. What the ECSA does is they've got a panel of all the interviewers, the people that are experienced. They will try and get all this. If it's railway engineering you do, they will get their utmost to get all the railway engineers. If they do not get, they will have definitely one person that is qualified to interview you with 2 of the other interviewers of professionals there who might have the understanding, but they will not be specialists, but they do have the understanding. So they will ask certain questions also. So you don't have to worry.
All of them will be civil engineering.
Yes, they won't be mechanical. They will not be electrical at all.
I presume you are civil, Keaton, because some of you guys are industrial and so in the railway situation.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I'm from civil background.
Yeah. So in other words, if you're a maintenance manager and you were an industrial engineer, they would actually give industrial engineers to do the interview. But in your case, there will be civil engineers, but obviously they will try and get someone who is a railway in your specialist field, railway track knowledge to interview you. But it's not always possible.
Sure.
But so don't stress out about that, because they usually do get the right people there. It might be 2 people, it might be 1 person who is there, but it will be civil engineering people, because there's a lot of stuff in civil engineering, like in the railways. You also have to know ground conditions and that, and they will get those people also to ask you questions there. It's just outcome 1, 2, and 3, and then 9 and 10 there, and then the rest is project management, and then also your ability to take decisions and your ethics. So that will also be asked there. So does that help you out, Keaton?
Yes, no, thanks so much, Chris.
Okay.
Isabella?
Hello, good day, everyone.
See you back.
My quick question, I just want you guys to confirm something that my professors once shared when I asked them that I want to register as a PR, and then they said you can use your dissertation, your master's dissertation, as a project that you worked for if you feel like you don't have enough experience or haven't worked on any heavy project, as a project that you worked for and submit it to be registered as a PR. So I want you guys to confirm whether this is possible or not. Yeah, that's a question that I have for you.
Okay, I think you can answer, Johan.
Tell me, your master's, was that engineering management or a specialist in your specialist field?
It was a specialist field.
So
Civil
obviously,
engineering.
you would have a lot in-depth knowledge, more in-depth than what you did in your undergraduate work about that specialist field. So obviously, yes, the stuff that you've done for your master's, you would be able to use it, but the interviewers might not always be that knowledgeable. You would probably know more than them about it. But then again, sometimes guys with a master's are not that knowledgeable. I was in a job interview where a guy applied for a job in my department, and he had a master's, and I asked him a structural engineering question, and he couldn't answer it. So, but yes, you should be able to use it, and but make sure that you have enough other experience as well. Don't only rely on that.
All right. No, thank you so much.
Any more questions? I don't see any more hands up, but you're welcome to ask more.
Johan, just a quick comment. I had it the other day as well. There is a mutual agreement with professional registration between England, South Africa, Scotland, and I think Ireland as well, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember the detail.
Yeah.
So there is a mutual agreement in there, but not chemical and not mechanical. I know mechanical tried 2-3 years back. There was some initiative containing that, but there's nothing for chemical engineer. There's no mutual recognition of professional registration. There's abbreviated way for the civil ones, but just to clear that one out. So yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. You're completing my education.
Well, interesting enough, Australia is also busy with one. I saw a communication came through from ECSA that they're busy with, and it's in its final stages to have a mutual agreement with Australia on professional registration as well. So that's also in the pipeline.
Oh, Australia has been part of the Sydney and the Washington Accord for a long time.
Yeah, but this is professional registration. So the Sydney and Dublin and Washington Accords are all for qualifications.
Yeah.
But this is now after you've got your professional registration and recognition of that. So it seems like there's now a drive to have some kind of mutual recognition in place.
Can I just come in there? I did the other day interview for a person that was he was registered in Ireland as a technician, and he did an application here by us. It was a very simple application. There is a mutual agreement between us and Ireland, and we did the international interview with him. And basically, it is just to find out what he's doing and what level he's working at. That's all. It's not like like as if the person is not at that level already. He's already at that level. We're just finding out what he does and how he does his work. And it was actually for traffic engineering. And he applied for technician, where he could have actually, the way he explained everything, he was already on the level of a technologist. But there is an agreement. It's a very short process. They fill in the form, they say what they've done, their experience. You just ask them, and we go through that. It's not to have the same 11 outcomes as what we're doing now. As if it's a new application. There is because they recognize each other, and we recognize, you go for the interview, they find out at what level you're working at. And then it's not a rubber stamp, but you have to make sure. Because a person might be registered in another country, or there's agreement before that, but they might be doing only one small tooth of the whole cog where it's not acceptable. It does happen. But usually you find out they broadly how they do their work, what they were doing, and what technical answers they were answering, and that. And do they understand the work they said they were doing? So that gets accepted, and it's quite easy for those people. Even us that go over, some of the guys go over, they get registered by the different organizations there through the agreement that we do have, because of Sydney, Dublin, and the Washington Accord. But it is, just be careful, look on there to see at what agreements have been made. Certain ones, they do not recognize technicians and technologists. Others, they agree professional engineers, other way around also. Okay. It's all on the website there.
There was another hand up, and then the person took his hand down again. You're welcome to ask your question. Don't think it's a stupid question. We will answer any question. Any more questions? Anything that you want us to talk about next time? Do you want more in-depth information about? Do me so.
Hi, Johan again. Yeah, no, it's just now to get a clarity in terms of how long exactly will it take for me? Because I've just, as I've said, that I've just now registered as candidate to be a PR. How long does it take? Will it, like, what is it dependent on? I don't have a registered mentor as yet. And like looking at what I still need to do, fulfillments for me to be a professional technologist.
Okay. How long ago did you finish your BTech?
2018.
2018.
Yes.
So in the middle of the year or the end of the year? The beginning?
Middle.
Okay, so basically, if you look at your baseline of education BTech, it says you have to have 3 years experience at the level of a broadly defined engineering activity. Of the 3 years, 1 year as at the level of a level E, which means you are doing design with minimum supervision. So basically you would practicing already as a professional technologist, but you're not allowed to sign off your drawings. You don't have your supervisor telling you how to do everything, and that you take your drawings, your design, or whatever you're doing, your process, you go and see your supervisor and say, this is what I've done. And does he agree, yes or no?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
But he takes the responsibility of your design. Not you yourself. So that is your benchmark. If you want to look at the definition of what is broadly defined engineering activity, you must refer to ECSA's policy document of R02 STA. So PE stands for Professional Engineer, stroke PT is Professional Technologist, and then PCE is a Professional Certificated Engineer, stroke PN. Now that is for Professional Technician. So look at that document, look under the section for technologists, the characteristics and the definition of what is a broadly defined engineering activity. Then you go and look at your, I think it is table 6. There gives you what is required, the questions that you have to require to ensure that you understand what is a broadly defined engineering activity. Then you look at table 7. There it gives you very nicely what is there to be answered on each outcome. Then you look at Appendix A, that is your baseline education that you require, and the years of experience and how many years you have to have at level E. Now, if it says 3 years, it's inclusive of the 1 year of engineering, of level E. Okay. Okay. Have you written that down?
I didn't manage. I didn't manage to hear you so fast.
Okay, look under ECSA's website. So just remember R02. The rest of the stuff will be there. Okay. Under technologists.
All right. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. There was somebody else who put their hand up. Jan, did you see who it was?
Oh, I'm looking to see if the person would put his or her hand up again. Welcome to. Otherwise, I want to go for lunch.
Yeah, I've got a meeting after this now.
If there's no more, if there's no more questions, I see your cat is even deciding to get up. Chris?
Yes, no, she's done a lecture now. Has just turned the site over to the other side.
Okay, thank you, everybody. If there's no more questions, I'm giving a last chance for a question, otherwise I'm going to close the meeting. Thanks a lot for attending, joining with us, and you're welcome to. We hope to do another one in 2 weeks, but sometimes we skip a week, and sometimes we skip it to a Thursday, depending on the circumstances and availability of whoever is doing the talking. Thanks for attending. If you have questions, I've given you the address where to ask your questions or join the groups. You're welcome to ask questions on the groups. We try and answer it there. And I see the person who had his hand up said that it is sorted. Thank you. So, as I said, this is a service by the Institute of Professional Engineering Technologists, and I've given the email address, the website address, and so thanks everybody, and until next time.